Hey James, my name is James Masella from Movie Death Close. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with me today.
My pleasure.
So I'm going to see you at Shore Leave 45 in a couple weeks in July. What do you how much fun do you have going to these conventions? Do you actually love it?
You know what? I always kind of think, oh, this is going to be really hard work. And then it's kind of fun because you meet so many different people and you meet so many random people that you just wouldn't have met in any other kind of circumstances. And it's really interesting to meet the people who, like, because I've done a lot of different things. So different people are into different stuff, right? So so that happens. And then you meet some of your heroes, on the road. And you make new friends, and then you do interviews, and then you have no idea what you talked about, and afterwards you're like, "Am I completely full of shit? I don't know. I might be."
Which fans love you the most now? Is it like the Star Trek fans because you were on Star Trek Discovery, or is it still like the Tudors or something like that? What do you hear about the most?
That's a good question, isn't it? I'll tell you what. It depends, right? So, women. There's a movie I did called Where the Heart Is in the year 2000 with Natalie Portman, which was this like romantic drama, and women of like my generation, that's what they remember me from. And then men generally, it's Count of Monte Cristo again, 2002. And these were movies that, in their own time, were kind of flops, but then afterwards had this huge life on cable, and people bought the videos and so on before streaming back in the Stone Age period.
I own
And
The Count of Monte Cristo on DVD, so I can tell you I'm one of them.
there you go. There you go. It's a good movie, right? Holds up.
I love Richard Harris in that movie. I'm talking to his son
Oh,
Jared. I'm talking to Jared tomorrow for a little bit. That's going to
oh,
be
please give
great.
him my best.
I
Please give him my
definitely
best.
will. I mean that was like early Jim Caviezel and like little Henry Cavill is in that movie and you and Guy
That was
Pearce,
his first
everybody's.
movie. It was Henry Cavill's first movie. I was like, well, let's see how he does.
That's what one of my favorite lines I think is I'm a count, not a saint when he's fighting Mondego at the end and everything like that.
Oh, there's so many great moments.
You know, you were in a show. I watch two shows once a year. One is Chernobyl, just for I like to watch it all the time. And
So,
the White Queen is one of the shows I watch every year because I'm fascinated by the War of the Roses. And you play, you know,
ah.
Richard Neville, the Earl of Warwick. Why are you always playing scheming characters? Are you just that good at it?
No, what happens if you do what happens this is what happens to you as an actor. If you do one thing well and that thing does well, then that's what people kind of call you up for, right? And that's got a lot to do with that. But also, like in the UK, everything's built around the theatre, and in the theatre, we don't really divide up between good guys and bad guys. So if you're doing all the classical plays, you might play like a tragic hero and then a villain and then a comic character, and it's all just acting, right? But then once you start doing movies and people already have something in their mind of what they want it to look like. And then you either walk in the room and you're that guy or you're not, right? But for the most part, they've already cast the movie. Most movies are cast like way ahead of time because they're like, we need stars to get the money. So that's the main reason all of those things happen. Then there's like, okay, we've run out of money and we need a bad guy. I guess we'll can we get a Brit for like cheap?
Let's call James and see what he's doing. No, I'm kidding.
James, he'll do it for minimum.
But like I'm just thinking in my mind, like I was like the White Queen, and then you've got you know, we talked about the Count of Monte Cristo, Paul Rains in 24, a tragic character who's like is scheming at the beginning, and then like he kind of comes back, but then ultimately Jack has to like
Gets
sacrifice him and
electrocuted.
everything.
Dude, I found myself. I'm in a documentary, about like Abu Ghraib jail and all the sort of scandal that was around that, and they were talking about the culture at the time, and they were talking about 24 and all the torture scenes in 24. I'm watching this documentary at home, Netflix, watching this Netflix documentary, and up I come on screen being electrocuted, and I was like, oh. I did not anticipate being in a documentary about abuses of. Oh dear. But you know, the weird thing about those kind of scenes is that more than sex scenes, they feel so goofy
Pretending to
because
be tortured.
oh, it's so absurd, right? So Kiefer Sutherland's here. He's got these two pretend wires, and he goes, and then nothing happens, and you have to go, you know, and, you just kind of feel like you're about 8 years old. I'm like, I can't be, am I getting away with this? And afterwards, people are like, oh, that was so moving, so powerful. I was like,
Like I did my best. That's why I'm an actor.
yeah, yeah, we wing it much of the time.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to ask you about is you were in one of the most interesting shows I think I've ever seen that I think nobody gave a chance, The Intruders. I
Oh
watched
yeah,
that show. I watched it when it was on BBC America. I was like, yeah, let me check this out. It seems like an interesting plot. You know, Mira Sorvino's in it, you're in it, and I see little Millie Bobby Brown's in it. And
Millie Bobby Brown's first role.
she scared the hell out of me in that show. She's like,
Scared
what
the hell
goes
out of all of
around
us.
goes around and around. I was like, what is this? I happen to love that show. I was ashamed that I think I might be like one of 10 people that watched it, but like how much did you enjoy working on that show? Because I was fascinated by it.
I got to tell you, I was so blown away by Millie Bobby Brown. I mean, I don't know if she was 10 maybe at the time, and she just came on and started acting, and we were all like, what's happening right now?
We've got something here.
Yeah, I mean, just everyone was just watching her, just like she's playing a young girl who's inhabited by the body of by the spirit of an old man. And it was just like, I mean, you know, you just sometimes this happens in life. You're on set, and then a major new star walks in, but it's not often that they're 10. So I was like, okay, well, obviously, incredible things are going to happen for her, and then stranger things happen. It was like, yeah,
Because I
perfect.
remember, yeah, right after The Intruders ended, Stranger Things started like 2 years later. I was like, wait, isn't that the girl from that show I was watching? And I was like, all right, this is something totally different than what that was.
I think Intruders did do that. We did do Millie Bobby Brown a solid. We definitely gave her a decent reel.
Definitely. Like I said,
And you watched it, so I've just watched twice the audience. I've met my whole audience.
I was on every episode. I was like, got to see what happens next. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets. I'm trying to think like what else you can compare
Yeah,
it to or something like that. But it was all
yeah,
like
yeah.
supernatural and stuff like that.
You know, the director of the pilot was the director of Blair Witch Project.
Was it really?
Yeah, they
Like
got some really interesting people. It was, and yeah, it had a lot of promise. But you know how it is. So many things have to come together. But you watch a lot of stuff, man.
I got to do that. People are like, "Oh, are you watching the show?" I'm like, "I'm watching like 8 shows at the same time just to catch up for
Wow.
half of these interviews and everything." I have 5 tomorrow morning alone in like an hour.
Oh my God.
I know, right? I had more hair at some point.
There is all, there is all. There's so much product though, right?
Well, especially nowadays, you've got Apple, you've got Paramount Plus, Netflix, Prime Video. Everybody's got shows everywhere. So I barely watch network
Everyone
TV
wants
anymore.
$15 a month. How about that?
Yes.
Who has that? I'm like, who has this? I don't understand. I don't have this. What's going on?
And it's funny because like 7 years ago, all I was watching was network TV. Now I watch a couple shows on TV and then everything else is streaming. So it's just
Yeah,
like
you don't even think about it.
my
We
schedule
were on
doesn't.
strike. We were on strike for a year, and the industry, no one noticed because it's all, you know. Usually, when you're on strike, it shuts the industry down. The audience start noticing it, puts pressure on the employers. But no one knew. They were like, "Oh, you're on strike? Oh, right. Do you mind? Would you ride in or something? Because you know that was a
Yeah.
year, bro.
We talked about the White Queen before. One
I
line
love that
that's
show. I absolutely love it. But I'm like you. I'm a history nerd,
yeah.
so I love all that shit.
I love the War of the Roses, the
Yeah.
Lancaster. One line that stays with me from that show, I think it's in like episode 4 or 5. Your character's just like, Anthony Rivers rode like a madman. And I hear that in my head all the time because my friend's name is Anthony. So I say it all the time. And every time he gets there, like, he rode like a madman. He got here super fast.
I'll tell you a fun story. That we shot that in Belgium in Bruges, which is a beautiful city. And but always, I've done a lot of movies and shows that shot in Europe and especially in Eastern Europe. And usually they'll, especially in the early days at the end of communism, they were kind of like, well, we've got these stunt guys. I mean, they're not really union, and they're kind of like a bit dodgy, and they turn up with these starving horses, you know, and you just like, there's your horse. But these guys weren't. These were proper stunt people, and they had this brilliant idea that I should ride an actual stallion. They thought it would look really good on camera. And I was like, I don't know much about horses, but I don't think you're supposed to ride stallions. I think they're a breeding horse, right?
Something
Now,
like that.
but it's going to look so good. It's going to look so good on camera, dude. This thing nearly killed me so many times.
You're still
Gallops.
here. You're great.
I am still here. I am still here. I think of that horse often.
Is it still alive, you think? You think it's killed somebody else?
I think after what it put me through, they were like, we can't do that again. We can't do that. It's a mating horse with a temper. But
You know,
it would just not stop. It would just carry on running. We would go into gallop. I'd have these galloping battle scenes, and then I'd be go past the camera and trying to stop this thing. And they're like, no, it's like a runaway train, basically.
yeah, I wanted to ask you about Elizabeth because you play a
Sure.
Spanish ambassador in that movie. What was that like for you, a British guy playing a Spanish ambassador with a beard and everything like that?
I don't think that would happen these days, would it?
No. There would be a riot, I think.
I mean, I had brown contact lenses and makeup and stuff. I'd auditioned for another role, and that came up right at the last minute. And I was so excited because I'd auditioned with Kate Blanchett, and I was like, that was another one where I was like, who are you? What is happening here? And they were like, would you like to play this other role? I was like, I don't care, whatever it is, I'll do it. I just want to be in this movie. So that was amazing.
I mean, if I had to say one thing about Kate, I think she's the most talented actress working right now.
Oh,
She is incredible. She scared the hell out of me in Lord of the Rings, and that's kind of like a kid's movie. Like when she has that one scene where like you don't know if she's evil or not, and like she just changes to this totally other person. That blew me away when I saw that.
she was 26 when we did Elizabeth. And she was unknown, and we couldn't find, when I say we, the casting people were telling me that they couldn't find an actress for the role because there was a lot happening, everyone was working, and they couldn't find someone who both looked and felt like the role, right? And so someone had recently gone to Australia and seen a bunch of Australian theatre, and they'd seen Kate Blanchett on stage, and they flew her over to do screen tests, and she was just like, just walked in with that performance.
I saw her in I think a Black Book or something this year with Michael Fassbender, and they were both amazing in that movie. I
Oh
had
yeah,
I had no expectations walking into that, ended up being one of my favorite films of the year.
I haven't heard of it. Black Pearl. All right, check
It's
it out.
a spy movie. It's kind of like I it's like kind of Guy Ritchie but meets like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy at the same time. It's a lot of like quick wit dialogue and stuff like that.
Nice.
But I think the interesting thing about Elizabeth is like it got a sequel. Like movies like that don't get sequels. Like Elizabeth the Golden Age came out with like I think 7 years after that.
A long time later, right?
Yeah, I was just like I guess people other than me are watching this movie to learn about stuff. But that was an entirely different movie.
It was a very different movie, and but she lived for a long time, and it was like I think they felt like they missed their Oscar because they came out the same year as Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah,
So it was like it's not often you get Tudor on Tudor action at the Oscars,
definitely not.
and they were like Kate Blanchett kind of deserves an Oscar, so should we build an
And now she
Did
has
she get it for that? Did she get nominated? I can't remember.
she's
But
got it for Blue Jasmine and I forget what and
yeah,
the Aviator. She's got the
did she get it from Katharine Hepburn in The
yeah
Aviator, right?
yeah that was the first one. Then she got Blue Jasmine later
The
on.
Jasmine.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, Katharine Hepburn is another incredible. I thought it was Kat Hepburn when I was watching her on screen.
I
Never be
mean,
able to tell the difference.
she's amazing. She's amazing.
One other film I wanted to ask you about. One of the most ambitious movies I've ever seen is Titus, and you were in
Oh
that
yeah.
movie. I don't even think you could make that movie today just because audiences wouldn't go see it. I mean, I don't know what the box office was then, but like, could you
Box
make?
office wasn't great, and it was really expensive to make. But it was around the time where you could also have a budget like that. We shot it in Rome. We shot in the Forum. We shot like the stuff outside Mussolini's building. We shot all that. We were in Rome for 5 months shooting Titus.
I gotta imagine those location shots for that long are so like amazing, but also like taxing on you guys and everything. But you're in Rome, so it's like
I mean, you're in Rome. The food alone,
we went to Rome on our honeymoon. I think I probably gained like 8 pounds there, but then we were walking so much
easily.
that I lost it all. We walked like 30 miles in like 5 days, I think, or something ridiculous like that.
You just kind of like, and the Italians don't even notice it, right? They're like graffitiing up the Colosseum and stuff. Hey, ciao. You know,
We
They
did the
just don't
Col
notice.
we did the Colosseum, the Roman Forum, Palatine
Yeah.
Hill. We took like a Roman walking tour at night that I embarrassed my wife on because they gave us like free dinner and I was eating all of it and nobody was eating anything. I was like, this is free food. Keep passing it down here.
Are you sure you're not an actor? That's a very actor thing to do.
I was like, I'm in Italy. If these people aren't going to eat it, I will eat it for them.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's all I have for you today, James. I can't wait to see you. Hopefully, I'll run into you at shore leave in a couple weeks and we'll be able
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Come say hi.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate you sitting down with me today. It's been an absolute pleasure, man.
Me too.